Ozzie Albies 2B ATL Atlanta. Number 1, age 26 Fantasy Breakdown ADP 55 Roto 41 Roto 4 H2 H47 H2 H3 2022 Stats AVG 0.247 SAW 8R 36 RBI 35 SB3 SA 47 One of the hardest things the ever-changing offensive landscape in MLB over the past few years makes it even more difficult to know what a player's real skill level is. Albies looked like a star in the waterball era when his traction-heavy approach allowed him to maximize a somewhat middling raw power profile. However, this approach seemed to have caught up with him, as he only hit .247, .294, .409 in 150 games last season, with a pace of 19 homers. If Albies return stealing bases 20 like they did in 2022, that's probably enough to make him a solid starting fantasy option. But he's definitely not the one make difference where he's doing his best. Albies talks about aiming for a season 40-40 during spring training, but I'm not sure it's a good bet for either half at this point. Harris CF ATL Atlanta. Number 23, age 22 Fantasy Breakdown ADP 45 Roto 33 Roto 10 H2 H43 H2 H10 2022 Stats AVG 0.297 HR19R 75 RBI 64 SB20 SA 107 Swear. I don't know. Atlanta Braves have nothing against Ronald Acuna as my number 1 player, for slightly different reasons. I'm not exactly buying price for neither the Harris nor Albies. If what Harris did last season is real, he was probably better hitter than the Albies. Harris had impressive touch quality metrics for a 21-year-old with little experience above the low minors, and he did so with hit rate. It wasn't much higher than the league average. He's young and a very good athlete, and it makes a lot of sense to bet on that profile. The problem here is price. Harris's consensus ADP is 23.8, and that's too much to pay for a partial season with some question marks. Harris struggled against the lefties and hit .238, .284, .365 with pretty hard plate discipline, which was a blow to him. Harris also managed to hit 19 homers despite a fairly high ground ball rate of 56.2% mostly, thanks to a 22.9% HRFB ratio. In terms of context, this was the 6th highest game in baseball between Trout and Austin Riley. And I don't think it's fair to say that Harris probably didn't quite match these guys in terms of forward power prospects. Of course, Harris is too young to be a finished production by any means, so he can take a step forward and justify that price. I wouldn't be shocked, but I'm not comfortable paying for a step forward at this point in the draft. O'Neill LF STL St. Louis. Number 27, age 27 Fantasy Breakdown ADP 126 Roto 108 Roto 25 H2 H 138 H2 H 32,022 Stats AVG 0.228 SAW 14R 56 RBI 58 SB14 SA 103 starting an opening day job for the Cardinals. Looks like he's getting in, and Lars Nootbaar is on every fantasy analyst's getaway list. And something has to give up on the Cardinals outfield. Perhaps Dylan Carlson would be the most disappointed in losing game time in his first few MLB seasons. Or maybe O'Neill will find himself looking from the outside in. O'Neill was incredible in 2021, but in 2022, amid a series of nagging injuries, he returned to earth with no stranger. O'Neill remains an impressive physical specimen, but 2021 certainly seems to be the outlier here. He's currently been nominated for day job, but O'Neill suddenly finds himself in a very crowded outfield situation and under lot of performance pressure. If he doesn't, things could rush south. I can't justify the top 100 selection on this profile. Nate Lowe 1B TEX Texas. Hash 30, age 27 Fantasy Breakdown ADP 149 Roto 99 Roto 9 H2 H116 H2 H102022 Stats AVG 0.302 SA 27 R74 RBI 76 SB2 SA 147 Lowe. Finally some real changes season made. He became much more aggressive hitter, increasing his swing rate from 44.7% 52.2%. Although this resulted in more swings and misses from time to time, a huge drop in walking rate, it was worthwhile trade-off because he managed make it without sacrificing anything in terms of contact quality. The barrel rate per shotgun increased slightly from 9.5% to 9.9%, but reduced the stroke rate by 2.4 percentage points, resulting in a sizable overall increase in production. The question I have is whether it can sustain these gains. The pitcher responded to Lowe's increased aggression by throwing more pitches into the area than the previous season, despite crushing them. I think we're going to see a change in how Lowe is oriented, and I'm not sure how he'll adapt to that. I might miss his replay, but I think the risk of Lowe's regression is big enough to put him on my to avoid list. Stop Dylan SP CHW Chi. White Sox. Number 84, age 27 Fantasy Breakdown ADP 63 Roto 54 Roto 15 H2 H41 H2 H15 2022 Statistics in 18,414 Ks 227 ERA 2.2 WHIP 1.111 The big leaps in our understanding of baseball like FIP, xFIP and so on. It came with the improvement defense independent pitching stats. The idea behind them was simple: shooters don't really have a lot of control over what happens to them, other than allowed hits, walks, and home runs. As turns out, it was a bit too simplistic, and working in space ever since has focused on measuring how much control shooters actually have over the results of balls in play. And turns out that some shooters really do. There's too much control over it. The problem is that shooter contact quality metrics take some time to stabilize, and it's hard to know how much deviation from a season in the control of any shooter. The halt will be a major test case for this, as it allows for an expected WOBA of 0.383 on contact 2021. While increasing to 0.313 in 2022. To the next. Other words, if he can sustain those gains, he will remain a very good shooter to move forward. But seeing it priced as if we were absolutely sure it was real, I can't convince myself to get on board. It will strike a ton regardless. But if Cease goes back to 2021 levels, he will push his odds. It gives me the real Robbie Ray vibe.